No, I mean that's basically. I mean he meant that in a whole, that in the court system, a jury, a grand jury, these 23 men at the time, but now men and women, could change the entire country.
We can take it all back.
Absolutely.
We can totally rewrite it all.
The entire thing. I mean, right from the ground up.
And that's I guess that's what they're afraid of, and what people don't understand is really how much power we have. I mean, people know it sort of in a, in a spiritual sense. I'm a creature of God and this and that, and I am above, all other men. Not, not above, but I'm equal with all other men and all that. But are we actually behaving that way? A very few people, such as yourself, have actually taken steps to actually walk that talk, and you're seeing more and more people. I guess because it has pushed so ridiculously, absurdly far that people are searching for. There must be a solution to this, and it's really good news. That's what I would like the audience to catch on. For as miserable as things may seem, it's really not hard to flip this whole thing upside down and get it on its head. But it's going to start with education and understanding and breaking through and understanding this, which is why we're doing this show right now, to try and just at least lay down a foundation of how we got where we are. I'd like to talk about, the Civil War, the 14th Amendment. I'd like you to explain that we'll go on.
Before we get there, you touched on a topic with Badnarik, and this is 100% factual information, and I have read it myself. I have seen the 13th Amendment, and it is not to free the slaves.
Right.
In the 13th Amendment, it enumerated that if you took the swearing oath and joined the royal court, that you liquidated all your sovereign rights at that moment.
Okay, go on.
Basically, at that moment, if you did so, you were no longer allowed to be president, governor, a congressman, nothing. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't be a public servant for free, sovereign, independent people. And that's basically what the 13th Amendment said. Now, as it was assembled, and the Congress basically said, "Yep, this is the ticket right here. We're gonna lick our thumb and put our thumbprint right on there, and we're gonna send it out." So it went into storage to be utilized and sent out to be ratified by the many states. Well, this was 1811. Well, this is the reason why they call it the War of 1812, because they don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you who the bad guy is.
Okay.
The bad guy is the British Empire, who in Philadelphia was the original capital of this of America. So the British Empire invaded through North America because they knew what this amendment would do if it was going to be ratified by the states, and that's why they fought a huge, costly war, huge, costly engagement to take Philadelphia and burn the capital to the ground, where the amendment was being kept to be sent out for ratification.
Oh my goodness.
This is what the 1812 war was all about. This is what Badnarik talks about, and this is why when it came to the peace talks between them again, they said that this ratification, this law, could not be law. And we then ceded, the government did, and agreed that they would strike that law down and not proceed with it, with its natural due course. So that's what happened to the original 13th Amendment, and it did recognize exactly that they were British royalty, and they were lawyers, and they had to go.
Interesting. So they just use their iron fist. When we wake up and figure it out, they come in and use the iron fist. But we're going to break through. Okay, so shall we go into the Civil War, the 14th Amendment? Because I think this is very interesting for people that are U.S. citizens, and people fight to get U.S. citizenship, and you have no idea what you're fighting for because it is a trap inside of a trap inside of a trap. So...
And what's even funnier, I think, when we talk about this trap, it's a huge trap to the world, because in all honesty, what they teach them, what they educate them on, it's a bait and switch. They hand them the original Constitution, the original, with all the freedom and independent and ideology and everything that goes with it, and that's what they teach them. This is America, this is America, and this is why the world hates us, because they're educated on the original Constitution, and they look at us and they go, Well, that's not what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do is they educate the public. Come to America, be an American, be free, be independent, law, law, law. And then they hand you a U.S. citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nothing more than saying, okay, I'm changing from being this person's slave to being your slave.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's saying.
Right.
And, that is what U.S. citizens are. And the 14th Amendment, basically what happened is all the slaves were freed. Now, ideology at the time was struggling with racism and sexism.
Mm-hmm.
And even good men were struggling with these entrenched ideas that were programmed into them
mm-hmm.
by their predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
So they were fighting with this idea, and they said, okay, we'll just have a continental vote. And as long as we get the majority, then we will then enunciate and recognize the sovereign rights of the slaves that are now free.
Mm-hmm.
Notice they never said blacks or Negro or anything of that nature. They said slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Because what most people don't understand is there were whites and blacks and Chinese and Muslims and things on both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, okay.
There were free and they were slaves. You had a large Irish slave contingency in this country, a Chinese slave contingency in this country. That's why they use the word slave.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I had heard about the Moors and that they erased their history, that the black Arabs from Africa